Welcome to South Carolina Community Loan Fund's Investing in Community Summit Series. The Summit Series is a monthly panel discussion focusing on the mission areas of South Carolina Community Loan Fund. I'm Kelly Sharkey. I'm the program manager here at SCCLF. This afternoon, we will be discussing resources for South Carolina small businesses. Small businesses are vital to our economy and currently face unprecedented challenges. This fourth installment of the Summit Series will explore programs and resources available to develop small business owners' technical knowledge. We are honored to have you all here as we celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week. Global Entrepreneurship Week is a collection of tens of thousands of events, activities, and competitions each November that inspire millions to explore their potential as an entrepreneur while fostering connections and increasing collaboration within the ecosystems. Diversity is a driver of innovation, and economies suffer if a nation or group of people are underrepresented or face structural barriers. The world needs more entrepreneurs. Powered by the Kauffman Foundation, Global Entrepreneurship Week has expanded to 170 nations since its launch in 2008, with 20,000 partner organizations now serving in the Global Entrepreneur Network community building backbone. We're thrilled that our panel this afternoon is one of those global events. One of SCCLF's 4 mission areas is small business. If you're an entrepreneur running a small business, we're here to assist you. Please reach out to your area's community loan officer to discuss the lending process. We also have a 10-week entrepreneur education program called the Local Entrepreneur Acceleration Program, or LEAP for short. We're currently wrapping up our last session for 2020, and we'll open applications in March for our first round in 2021. If you're interested, please sign up for our newsletter to receive up-to-date information about our program. I'll let the panelists talk more about our program as well as similar programs throughout the state, so I don't want to take too much time. But before we get started, I wanted to launch a quick poll to see who our audience is. If you are an entrepreneur, we want to know what stage your business is in. So if you look at your screen, if you want to answer the poll right there, we've got over 120 people registered for this event. So we want to welcome everybody. Want to get a few more responses. Let's see, they're coming in. Great. All right, looks like we've got most of the folks here are in the idea and planning phase. So we welcome everybody to our session today. We're excited to have such a range of different entrepreneurs in this afternoon session. So I want to go over just a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions during the session, we ask that you type them in the question feature on the GoToWebinar side panel. We will have 10-minute question and answer before we conclude at 2 o'clock. This session will be recorded and automatically emailed to everybody who registered through GoToWebinar. I'll also post it on our Summit Series YouTube page. I have included in the handout section on the GoToWebinar side panel information about each program that we will discuss this afternoon. Please feel free to download that PDF for more specific information. In that handout, it includes website information and how you can get in touch with each program if you are interested in applying. So our moderator today is John Barreau. He's the Community Development Manager at TD Bank. John oversees the bank's community development efforts, including its CRA responsibilities for lending, investing, and service provision. So without further delay, I'm going to hand it off to John, and we're going to get this panel started. Right.
And I've been unmuted and you can see me. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. Kelly, am I coming through?
Yes, you are good.
Okay, thank you. My name is John Barreau. I work for TD Bank in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I am the manager of our community development efforts for our footprint in the 2 Carolinas. which means wherever we have a branch, we have responsibilities towards community development. And I'm going to spend a brief moment introducing our 4 esteemed panelists, and then we're going to get into some questions, and we will have our panelists respond to some of these questions, and then at the end or towards the end of the session, we will open it up for questions from the audience. And I think I heard Kelly tell everybody, you know, please use the chat box for questions, comments, observations. We certainly encourage those. As Kelly also said, this particular week, or playing up on this, it is Global Entrepreneur Week, and the Kaufman Foundation, if you're not familiar with them, check them out online at kaufman.org. But Mr. Kaufman, Ewing Kaufman, who started that foundation, believed that every person, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, but that every person has a fundamental right to turn an idea into an economic reality. And if you think about being an entrepreneur and the courage that it takes to do that, it makes you sort of special. And our panelists are from different programs that are being offered across the state to help entrepreneurs like yourself in honing your skills. And so I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Mrs. Lakeisha Whitner. Lakeisha, I know personally from the Northside Development Group in Spartanburg. She is their supportive services manager. She's also an adjunct professor at Spartanburg Community College. And Lakeisha brings a ton of experience in teaching financial literacy, homeownership skills, employment opportunities, and helping people get access to additional resources within the CDC that she supports. Also, we have another panelist, Ms. Raquel Paget. Raquel runs the program for Good Enterprises, which is a low country local first program. Raquel is a graduate of South Carolina State University with more than 20 years of experience in marketing, PR, and business consulting. She loves her community and has a lot of experience with business development and working with entrepreneurs to help achieve their goals. We also have, as another panelist, we have Natasha Pitts. Natasha is the assistant to the city manager at the city of Spartanburg. She provides support for small, local, and minority businesses seeking to do business within the city of Spartanburg by expanding and contracting opportunities, increasing procurement dollars spent with minority and women-owned businesses. She's created Amplify, which is a 10-week business development accelerator program offered in Spartanburg. She is the equity and inclusion manager in her role working for the city manager. And then lastly, Paul Smith. He is the CEO from Best Carolina LLC. Paul is also the lead instructor for the South Carolina Community Loan Fund's Local Entrepreneur Acceleration Program, also known as LEAP. For those of you that are on the program, participating today, that are in his class, I know you're very familiar with Paul. And in fact, I had the opportunity to sit in on some of his class last night. He's been teaching since 2004 and loves it. And so I've given a quick introduction to all the panelists. And so I'm sort of going to open up, and I'm going to address the first question to Paul. And Paul, entrepreneurs need a support network. A lot of time this support network is referred to as a entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a little bit about what is an entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Well, and John, thank you again, and also South Carolina Community Loan Fund for having me. That ecosystem, and John referenced earlier the Kaufman Foundation, it's a series of connected points, interconnectedness, and that includes, and Kelly did a brief survey earlier about the stages of which a business is in, having that real-time access to those resources. And that could be from a banking perspective, establishing that banking relationship, the legal perspective. Also, I would envision having the South Carolina Secretary of State, Mark Hammond. So it's a whole list of entry points whereby the beginning small business owner or one that's established will have at each level, each step of their enterprise, the resources and talents and necessary to, albeit go to the next level, whatever that next level is, from idea to reality. So I think it's holistic in that regard. And I just want to never lose sight of the insurance factor, where to go when I need X, Y, and Z, having those resources there ready, willing, and available. You might want to include the SBA as it relates to that. So that would be my initial definition of the ecosystem.
Any comments from any of the other panelists? Okay, and moving on, talking a little bit more about that entrepreneurial ecosystem, I'd like to address this question to Raquel. Raquel, in your opinion, and based on what you see in your world down in Charleston, what do you think are the components that are needed for a successful entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Well, I think about my career working with small minority business owners and having government involved, legislators, municipalities, counties. It begins with that. A lot of the issues that small and minority business owners today are facing are legislative type issues. And beyond that, every organization, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit that is a supportive organization for is needed. And think about buyers and suppliers and opportunities, and making sure that opportunities and awards are given in an equitable way to every entrepreneur. Those are the components that I think of, and I think it's really important as well for grassroots organizations to take part. Every person counts. Every single effort counts. So it works back and forth to me, from the bottom to the top, and then from the top back to the bottom.
Lakeisha, I see you shaking your head up and down there. Talk a little bit about how you've seen the components that you use with the Start Me program in Spartanburg. Talk a little bit about the components that you bring together for that particular classroom over the course of that program.
Absolutely. I have to agree with Rochelle. I mean, is it Raquel? Is it Rochelle? Raquel. Raquel, please forgive me. Yes, so I am agreeing. Yes, that's totally what we do. We first look for entrepreneurs, right? We go into the neighborhood. We have 400 acres. We go door to door. We look for that local talent, right? And then we help to grow and build that talent just by hearing from them first. Then we provide the institution that provides the curriculum, which is the George Dean Johnson. And then we become champions for those individuals. We help promote their business. We help share it with our network, right? And so for me, if I have over 5,000 contacts, I share that business with my 5,000 personal contacts because, of course, I have a relationship with them. And then on-ramping them, right? Maybe Start Me wasn't for them. So then we look at Natasha's program and we'll say, hey, reach out to Natasha Pitts. Maybe that's your gateway in. If not there, then we do the SC LEAP program, right? The South Carolina Loan Farm LEAP program. So we try to marry them up with the best product or service that works for them. So finding that great intersection, right? Finding that place where they can use their skills and talents to grow their business. And then look for diversity in cultures, right? We want to make sure we're reaching everybody, especially for our entrepreneurs, because we want to be able to service anyone that walks in the door for them, right? So we look at a broad range of mentors and entrepreneurs and say, hey, you're welcome here. We're glad that you're willing to participate in this program. And then providing them with a list of cohorts. So Natasha has been very lenient with her cohorts. And so what we want to do is just have a glossary of all of these entrepreneurs and it's in this ecosystem to come together, right? And share ideas and network and gather. I think it's a great spirit to come together collectively and collaborate and continue to build your business. So we just recently had our Start Me Holiday pop-up shop. This is our second annual, and we had 41 entrepreneurs right out here in the street celebrating their businesses with each other, networking and building that ecosystem of entrepreneurs. So that's how we continue to grow. But I'm with Raquel. I love everything you said, so I'm over here taking notes.
Well, and I appreciate, Lakeisha, that answer. And also, would you go be a little specific about some of the classroom instruction that you offer through your program? And in particular, I'm thinking about, when you bring in Hubbard and some of those people, talk a little bit about what you're trying to bring to them specifically, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So we also offer additional training beyond the 14 weeks. We offer a night of just legal services. So what we did was survey all of our entrepreneur alumni to see what is it next that you're needing from us? Where can we help you be more of a resource? And so the first thing that came up was legal. So we reached out to one of our internal partners and said, hey, can you help us in that area? And Hubbard was like, absolutely. So we sent out the information and individuals got to learn beyond the classroom. So we do coaching beyond the classroom. We had individuals say they were interested in marketing. So we have someone on our team who does marketing, but we also reached out to some external resources and sent it out to the cohort and say, hey, we're offering additional coaching beyond the classroom. We had QuickBooks training, individuals saying, I got to run this business, but I want to run it properly with a profit and not a loss. And so we did QuickBooks training. So we go do some coaching beyond the classroom, as he was saying, as John was saying. Again, the 14 weeks is only the beginning. We actually develop families beyond our families, right? We also do coffee shop talks where our mentors who can't commit to 14 weeks, they'll meet individuals on their lunch break for an hour just to continue to build their business or brand.
Yeah. And Natasha, did somebody want to say something?
All of us.
John, if I may, just to further elaborate on Lakeisha's point, the South Carolina Community Loan Fund, beyond the classroom, and these 10 weeks, the end for the extra 10 weeks culminates with a Shark Tank-like event in December. And this has mushroomed where the top presentation will receive $30,000 in seed funding. That's a life changer. Second place is $10,000. Third place is $5,000. And I have to give certainly a shout out to the Community Loan Fund as well as TD Bank. They've also, here's that ecosystem back again, will provide $2,000 as relates to marketing for that small business enterprise. So, and we're always constantly referring other agencies, to Lakeisha's point and Raquel's point, and I would submit, just to kind of give an example, Community Works, which is out of Greenville. They are a valid resource. So I think it's that holistic approach that speaks volumes. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. And are there any other comments? And if Natasha, I want to bring you into the fray here and talk a little bit about your program, and in particular, are you seeing entrepreneurial activity increasing or decreasing within your sphere of influence? And I'd like for the other panelists to also think about this. Are you seeing the level of entrepreneurship increasing or decreasing in your areas? And if so, why? So, but Natasha, I'd like for you to go first, please.
I'm seeing that it's increasing, and I think Lakeisha can kind of compliment me on this. We are seeing that entrepreneurship, especially with COVID hitting, is increasing in a lot of our communities. Entrepreneurship is no stranger to the minority community. A lot of us can think back to when we had grandparents and great-grandparents that ran their own businesses. And I think there was a period in growing up, I can say specifically for me, where I didn't necessarily see a lot of entrepreneurship. You know, growing up, you go to college, you get a job, that's what you do. But as I've been at the city and as I've been running Amplify, which is a 10-week business accelerator for the city, I've noticed that entrepreneurship has increased. I can say we went from the first year of launching our program till about 50 applications. Paul was my very first facilitator, to where now we're looking at 80 to 100 applications come in just for a 10-week program, and we only have 15 slots. Applications for us open up in December. I probably have 75 names on my list now that are interested into going into this program. So people are wanting to start businesses, but they're wanting to start businesses the right way. They don't want to start a business and operate it as a side hustle. They want to operate it and know how to make sure they have business license and they've been through inspections with local government. They want to make sure they're registered with the state. They have the business bank account. They have their federal tax ID number. They want to make sure that they know what all marketing ideas are available for their business. They want to make sure that when they start businesses now, that they are businesses that they can pass on from generation to generation to generation, the way we build generational wealth in the African American community. Entrepreneurship has been that pathway, has shown and proven itself to be that pathway to build generational wealth. And we are seeing a lot of people within our community that are ready to take on those ideas that they've been babying and thinking about and nurturing over the past couple of years. And they're ready to put pen to paper. They're ready to outline the business plan and outline, how do I get from point A to point Z? We can't always help them, being that, we only have 15 slots, but we refer out. We refer to LEAP. We refer out to Start Me. We refer out to the Minority Business Accelerator that the Greenville Chamber runs. We refer out to Katrina Meets at SBDC. I mean, Piedmont Score. It takes a village, and it's part of that ecosystem to make sure that everybody gets what they need to be successful. And I've personally had to realize that I can't help everybody. I'm one person. You run an accelerator, you having one-on-ones, it's just not possible. But as a team and as a community, in a community of entrepreneurship, we can all help make sure everybody is successful along this journey.
Yeah, you're right. You need a lot of interconnectivity, a lot of, I think Paul even said that at the beginning, a lot of connected points. Raquel, I'm curious, down in Charleston, what is your observation regarding increasing or decreasing entrepreneurial activity?
It is the same experience Natasha is having. It has been a tremendous increase. This semester alone, we have a 12-week program, a community business academy that I teach. And for the first time, we taught 2 classes this semester. We are graduating 30 students on December 5th.
Wow.
And that is a large number of students, and I'm tired. It required a lot. I'm going to take some holiday time, but it was exactly for the reasons Natasha stated. We found that COVID really prompted people to start thinking about what else they could do. If there was something that they had been thinking of, a business idea for a while, or if they had already started their business, but maybe they were doing it like a side hustle and not a true business. Or maybe they were in business and they just wanted to make their business better and they knew they had to do something different in a COVID environment to continue to make sales. So those things really put people on their toes. And I'm expecting we're teaching 2 classes next semester in English and our first Spanish class, which is in high demand right now. And the same thing seems to be going on in the Spanish community as well. So, by the winter, spring semester, who knows what we're going to have. And I'm getting ready for it now. We're holding info sessions right now for the winter spring semester.
Interesting. And so, and I'm gonna segue a little bit over to Paul, but again, playing on this same question, if you pick up the Wall Street Journal, you read about entrepreneurial hotspots such as Boston, Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, maybe not one you hear about too much. Nashville, Tennessee. Can you have successful, or maybe I should say, is it possible for new ideas and new businesses to be created in an environment like South Carolina, which is predominantly rural in nature? Do you think we have what it takes?
Absolutely. And just looking at the topography of South Carolina, we have the upstate, obviously Greenville and Spartanburg. I see those companies, those major employers having opportunities from an ancillary type company to supply them as an offshoot. In the low country, as Raquel has just mentioned, just think about it, Volvo, Boeing. These companies, obviously they come, but also they need services. And I think that's where the hot spot is. And there are a lot of industries, the tire industry. South Carolina has been saturated with major manufacturers, Continental to name a few. And here in the Midlands, the Columbia type area with Fort Jackson and public government, I certainly, we have an incubator at USC. So yes, we can be just that. And we're just a stone's throw away from the research triangle, our counterparts in North Carolina. And never lose sight of this, the cost of living. From a real estate perspective, I'm seeing a lot of folks relocating from Boston, New York, coming to the low country. There are firemen, there are police officers, so they're bringing that and those skill sets. But absolutely, I think South Carolina is, and I will have to give credit to Mark Hammond, the Secretary of State. We've become one of the most friendly as relates to business ownership. The format is very streamlined. So yes, I think, yes, to speak to that, yes, South Carolina has that capability and entrepreneurs are tapping into that. And I just want to just say this quickly, to your earlier point about the level of entrepreneurship increasing. Steve Benjamin, Mayor of Columbia, we had a joint graduation and he gave the opening announcement. He said, the future is female. And I say that because all of the classes I've been facilitating, and ladies, you can help me out, is pretty much a 90, okay, I'm getting some nods, 90+% female. And so we're the males, we're hopefully that they'll, eventually move in that direction. But yes, the future is bright, and the future I would commend is female, absolutely.
Paul, I will tell you, the class we graduated this particular year was all female. That was never my intent, but it was all female.
Yeah, we had 98% female as well. 98% female. Two men in the whole group, Natasha. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Our Tuesday night class was a mixture, but mostly female. But the Thursday morning class was all female. And two things to say about what Paul said. Concerning these entrepreneurs that are expanding into larger areas. One of the things I do believe that we need to hone in on is helping these new entrepreneurs and those that are just needing to beef up their business understand supplier buyer platforms. And one of the things that's happening because of COVID, where these businesses are expanding and doing greater business is online. I have seen a lot of my students and a lot of business owners in my area come up with some creative things to do online because they had to. So what do they say? Adverse is the mother of invention, right? So that is just in the atmosphere right now because we all, even with I teach this class, but then I'm an entrepreneur and I have a business. I'm a business coach and business consultant. So I've had to look at my own business differently as well and figure out how am I going to do this in this climate.
Right. Natasha probably can speak to this better than I can with urban renewal causing a lot of businesses to be closed here in Spartanburg. But I believe it was just in the ecosystem, in the atmosphere. And then finally, we had this great turn and influx of people wanting to start their own businesses. I mean, like Natasha said, we started off with 22 our first year. Last year, we had 98 applications. So, people are really wanting to grow and expand their businesses. I'm just thankful that we have these partnerships and relationships where we can refer other entrepreneurs to other entrepreneurs, right? Who may have similar businesses, but it may just be a transferable skill where they need a little help in this area or a little assistance in that area. So yeah, well, I agree with you and Raquel, definitely. And Natasha, I'm sorry I cut you off earlier, but when I heard that percentage, I was like, number women, nothing but ladies in the room.
I don't know if everybody's read the article with COVID happening around now, every 2 of 5 African American businesses are closing.
Yes.
And we start to look at why and what's happening. We for the city, we had to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out how can we prevent this from happening. So for 2021, we welcome all entrepreneurs to apply. But for 2021 Amplify, we've actually, and this is my first year, Raquel, so 2 cohorts, I'll let you know how it goes. We created an Amplify Create and an Amplify Launch. So Amplify Create is a 5-week program that focuses on our entrepreneurs that are just in idea phase. We spend 5 weeks making sure that this idea is a solution to the problem we already have in the community. That for one gives us the opportunity to compete with some of the bigger cities with being innovative. COVID has made all of us figure out how to take all of our training online and virtual, but still give them the same engagement they would normally get in a classroom setting. So our 5-week Create is strictly market research, registering your business legally, making sure that this business idea meets your personal values and your personal goals, but that you're meeting a need in the community, and this is a viable business for this community that you want to open it in. Once you complete that section, you go to Amplify Launch, which is our typical 10-week program like everybody else runs, where we bring in weekly speakers. We have business coaches. We have a team of business coaches that are available for you. We have weekly speakers. John, I love Kaufman. We use the fast track curriculum. We're using that for both of the sections. We're using fast track curriculum. Bringing in a little next level coaching, because for some of our launch individuals, they need a little more high level, a little more in-depth information. So we will bring in some of the next level knowledge in the class. But they'll go through the 8 to 10 week program, and then we are finishing this year with a pitch session. This is something we've never done before. It is new for 21, but we will complete our launch section with a pitch session to hopefully be able to give seed capital. We have partnerships with Carolina Foothills Credit Union right now that provides all of our small business financing for Amplify. So once you complete the program for us, we refer you to Carolina Foothills. You go through the proper paperwork. They know our curriculum. They have worked with us for 3 years. They've been through the training with us. They know what we provide. So it's not the education part that they're worried about. We just have to make sure that our individuals, and I'm just going to be honest and frank, are credit worthy. So one of the partnerships that we have with Carolina Foothills is they offer free credit counseling. So once you know the position you're in when you start, they take you through the series to make sure you're credit worthy, so you can get the small business loan that you need to get, or so that you can get the access to capital, or you can grow the business, or open a new location, or buy a new vehicle, or whatever it is that you need to be successful in this community. We try to give you everything you need for this business to be successful from point A to point Z.
You talk about this a little bit, and I work for a bank, and banks are not the best place to find seed capital or venture capital. Usually the businesses that are able to borrow money from the banks have been in business for at least 3 years, maybe 5, maybe more. And so where do you go a lot of times to get that seed money? We talk about family and friends, but it really speaks to the role that community development financial institutions play, CDFIs for short. Obviously, South Carolina Community Loan Fund is a big CDFI. We talked about Community Works a little bit. There's a big one in Columbia called Optus. Y'all probably know about them. If you don't, you need to learn about them. But CDFIs are, I think, going to be playing a more major role than they have been in the past. And quite frankly, I think banks recognize that. Now, I'm just sort of giving you my opinion here, but banks recognize that. And the role we play a lot of times is we will provide the capital to the CDFIs so they can turn around and provide it to the small businesses. It's hard for us to make, when I say us, the banking industry, but it's hard for the banks to make a small loan and for it to be profitable. And I don't mean for that to be a bad word, but that's the way you stay in business. And if we make a $5,000 or $10,000 loan, interest rates are such that now that you might earn, over the life of the loan, you may earn $3,000, $4,000 on a $10,000, well, not on a 10, on a $100,000 loan, you may earn $3,000 or $4,000. On a $10,000 loan, you may earn $300 or $400. And just all the record keeping and the bookkeeping and everything that goes into the overhead costs, it's hard to make money on a loan, a relatively small loan like that. So the way we approach it is we will provide a large chunk of capital to the CDFIs, and they have the manpower and the I guess the financial structure where they can provide those loans and be self-sustaining. A lot of them are not for profits, but they can be self-sustaining, so they don't have to pay the taxes and all that stuff that the banks have to pay. And I think it works out better that way. So I'm getting off my soapbox a little bit, but I would encourage you, to the participants that are out there, especially when you hear about legislation on a national level and funding for CDFIs, that's a good thing. And so just sort of maybe keep that in the back of your mind a little bit. I think they do play a very important role in the future formation of a lot of these new businesses. I wanted to ask y'all, the four of y'all, I'm just going to sort of throw this out there, but what would be the one thing that you would tell, or what's the one big thing that you've noticed that small businesses don't really know about that they probably should have known about when they got started? What's that big, oh my, I didn't know that, or God, I need to fix that? What do you run across from your experience? I'm just curious. What do you think? Raquel, I'll let you go first in this case.
Oh yeah, I was itching to go first. And you guys see if it's the same thing. So I'm just as an instructor, but also as a business coach and consultant, that when I talk to small business owners, it's always an issue with them understanding cash flow, number one. A lot of them don't understand what their break-even point is. So it's the financials, to me, that is the biggest thing. The second thing that I find most common is small businesses, they may have done a business plan, and they may have had some marketing stuff in it, but they didn't set aside money for marketing. So nobody knows that they're there. And that has been for years across the board. And that third thing, and they kind of all go hand in hand, is that access to capital or revenue generating. A lot of them don't start off with enough startup capital. And so they're already behind the gun when they start. And then when it gets to the point of desperation is when they may reach out, and it's a little bit too late. There's some other things that I can say too, but I don't want to take up all the time. I want to hear from everybody else.
Paul, what do you think? What do you see?
Well, I mean, certainly Raquel has pretty much nailed it from that standpoint. I find it also a challenge to having my students, and also when I'm facilitating a course, them correctly identifying their target customer, target marketing. the world is not your customer. I mean, that were the case, well, but no, in most cases, they have the difficulty of identifying that target demographic. Who are you targeting your product and services to? And it's almost, that approach that keeps them from really succeeding. And to Raquel's point, the marketing aspect, you have a website, but what about that search engine optimization? When a name is typed in, the software to draw that customer to your actual your website. And so I think those are key. Obviously, the financials, and never losing sight. And I think Natasha mentioned earlier, Kaufman, the 1 million cups. They have certain locations where you could go and hear other pitches, that public speaking component, not necessarily Toastmasters, but having that, and crowdfunding. I think that's a unique aspect as well. But I would certainly, everything that Raquel has said, I concur 1,000%.
Lakeisha?
I'm sorry, over here multitasking. When you're an entrepreneur, you got entrepreneurs at the door. You kind of gotta wait a minute. So absolutely, I would say, please first listen to your client. Not that they're always right, but hear what they're asking you for. Sometimes we try to say, no, this is the best thing for you, and not really listen to the client. Make sure you hear what they have to say, and give yourself credit. You don't know what you don't know, but what you do know, you be great at it, right? So I've had entrepreneurs to beat themselves down. And again, as everyone has said, and I agree with you all, COVID has changed a lot of footprints for a lot of individuals. I found that several were working 2 jobs through SC Workforce, and when they both closed, they realized, I've got to do this, right? I've got to make ends meet. And so, yeah, the workforce changed on that end, but it gave them the opportunity to say, now I can invest in this dream and vision. If you're an entrepreneur, invest in it now. Believe in yourself that you can do it. You don't know what you don't know, but give yourself credit for what you do know.
Yeah, I like that. Natasha, is there any one thing that you wish you could tell people, or go back and have told them?
I have to agree with what everybody else said. Financials is a big thing. Understanding the startup costs. Understanding that just because you think you need $100,000 to start the business does not really mean you need $100,000 to start the business. Identifying your customer. What we have learned recently is utilizing some of the free or inexpensive marketing tools that are out there. So if you have a business and you have your clients or customers, leave Google reviews. Those impact where you show up on the search engine optimization. If you use ads on social media, look at the back end of it. Who's opening the ads? Who are they? When are they opening the ads? What kind of traffic are you getting on the back end with social media? Those are free and inexpensive tools that you could use, that you pick your target audience. You can advertise to who you want to advertise with at an inexpensive rate. What we've learned and what I've been telling with COVID is, I know you want the big, great website and you want the best logo and the brightest colors on the business card. That's all great. But if you don't have a business, you don't have a product, you don't have customers, and you can't tell how you're doing, all of that does you no good. It's not any good for you. So I've been telling them to let's utilize some of these resources out here. Nobody likes flyers. But you can start sending out you can get a group, you can get email addresses or telephone numbers, and you can send coupon codes and you can send sales. Let's go back to the basics of things that we maybe hadn't used in a while, but we need to go back to using to build those new customer bases, to get us a new customer so they can see what you're offering the community.
Thank you. That sounds good. I'm going to change course just a little bit here and ask you, and this is for all 4 of you. If you think about what you're doing, you're offering accelerator, incubator programs for new and existing small business entrepreneurs. How do you measure the success of the entrepreneurial activity in your sphere of influence again? Do you measure it with new businesses? Do you measure it by new jobs created? Or do we need to look for more granular metrics if you're maybe trying to measure resource availability or something like that? So I pose that question out there to all four of you, but Paul, I'll let you go first this time, but how do you measure the success of the entrepreneurial activity within your sphere of influence?
Well, I would say, one key measurement obviously is the business. 3 to 5 years out, they're still going concern. And also, I'm just researching that intergenerational transfer of wealth. I think COVID really exposed the element. I think Natasha mentioned 2 out of 5 were not able to recover given the COVID-19. The Brookings Institution says that for every family of color, they're roughly white families. Families of color have roughly 10% of the wealth. So that transfer of wealth, and I would also mention being a mentor in their community. That next group of students, that next group of business owners having an internship. So the baton is passed. The entrepreneurship continues, that is ingrained. And if nothing else, if I could impart, John, to them to have the entrepreneurial mindset. Not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur, but if they can just share their stories early and often, albeit through a volunteer, through their church, their civic organizations, I think that is the speaks to the positivity. And so that would be my take on it.
Well, and one follow-up there, I'm curious, how does the LEAP program that you represent, how do y'all follow, you mentioned, is the business still around 3 to 5 years later? What are y'all doing to keep in touch with those businesses after they've graduated through your program?
Absolutely. We've established an alumni portal, and that's for everyone who's gone through the program, regardless of if they've won or not. And that's a shared space. All of my classes, and I strongly emphasize, not mandate, they have a LinkedIn profile. Just again, it's free, but again, to see what others are doing and that shared information standpoint. But I want to say that yes, there's a group portal, and we have roughly, and of course Kelly can clarify the actual amount of students, but yeah, they're part of that ongoing fraternity, so to speak, of those who've been there, done that.
Yeah, I like that fraternity word. That's interesting. Yeah. And so, Natasha, I know your program's relatively new, but as far as your work in the city of Spartanburg, how do you go about, maybe how does the city go about measuring the success not only of your program, but entrepreneurial activity in general?
So we are looking at those data points now. It's funny, that was a question we've been having conversations about it the past couple of weeks. We have looked at, I guess we look at different metrics. We look at businesses opening and how successful they are when they open. What is your revenue the first year you're open, the second year you're open, the third year you're open, and ongoing. We've looked at individuals that maybe hadn't quite opened their business. Maybe the business idea just didn't work. Maybe family issues came up. How are you different from when you entered our program? Do you know more? Has this sparked another business idea? Have you been able to incorporate what you learned into another business that you currently ran? And then we just look at metrics and numbers. Have you been able to employ how many employees and part-time, full-times? I just have a business recently that finished about 2 years ago that was able to acquire a second location in a different city. So we just look at different metrics of how successful. So it's not really, did your business open and what your business sales are, but have you been able to take what you learned in this class and apply it to your personal and professional life? Whether it's you open a new business, whether you were able to coach somebody else, or whether you were to go into another business and help them grow, just how were you able to utilize what you learned in our program and use it in every facet of your life? One thing I always remember is Paul taught the very first class about a blue ocean strategy. And to know Paul, everybody, when I talk for a class, they always talk about their blue ocean strategy. So if you want to ask Paul what that is, you can. But so a lot of my first cohorts, that's always in the back of their head. What is their blue ocean strategy? How are they different from everybody else doing what they're doing in this community.
And Natasha, I'm curious, again, I know your program's relatively new, but do you have a follow-up process in place to keep up with the graduates of your program?
So we do. So we are, we had an email just went out this week, but I do follow-up emails. They're all in a follow-up email group for when workshops are going on, different things are going on. So I do follow up with them, and I still meet with a lot of them one-on-one in regards to personal or professional things in their life. Our goal for 2021 is to create an alumni group, but I didn't want to create an alumni group that didn't do anything. I want to have an alumni group that continues to challenge them as business owners and continue to allow them to grow and expand and be better business owners. So right now we're trying to figure out in that alumni group, do we continue to offer workshops? And is it specifically for that group, or do we offer workshops for all entrepreneurs in this community? We want to make sure that we don't just have a group just to have a group to say we have a group. We want to make sure that that group has tangible outcomes, tangible ideas, and they're learning things to continue to help them be better business owners.
Yeah, good for you.
We have a few questions from the audience.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry to
jump in.
interrupt.
I'm sorry.
Running out of time here. First, we've gotten a few questions at where people can get more information. If you want to download the handout on the handout feature that is called Entrepreneur Program Information Sheet, that's where you can get all the information, everyone who's talking this afternoon, and where you can access their information. But if we could real quick go down the list, and if you could say what program you work for one more time so that people can identify your face with the program. So, Natasha, you want to start?
Sure, Natasha Pitts. I'm with the City of Spartanburg, and the City of Spartanburg's program is Amplify Business Accelerator for African Americans.
Okay, I'll go next. Paul Smith with the South Carolina Community Loan Fund and their LEAP program. That's the Local Entrepreneur Acceleration Program, LEAP.
I'm Raquel Paget with Low Country Local First, and I'm the program director for Good Enterprises, which houses our community business academy and business acceleration services.
Lakeisha Whitner with the Northside Development Group Start Me Spartanburg program.
All right. I have a question specific about business-to-business marketing. Courtney Green asks, any suggestions on business-to-business marketing?
Well, the first thing that I must say is that has changed right now because of COVID. You know, the networking event that you could go to meet another business and you know, potentially market to them, that has changed tremendously. One of the things that I am seeing now is that is successful is Facebook groups that are business oriented. I belong to one called Melanated Money Mondays, and it has 55 owners in it. It started in the Charleston area, so there's a lot of Charleston businesses in it and South Carolina businesses in it, of course, but there's been a lot of collaborations within the group, and I think that is awesome. Also, I know at Low Country Local First, we're a membership-based organization, and so we started our local socials online when we couldn't do them in person. So if you find organizations that have those kind of platforms set up now, by all means, you know, jump into them. But I swear everything is on Zoom right now, everything. So if you just look around and even ask another business owner or call an organization and ask them what's going on, and even your city, if you live in a city or a county that supports small and minority businesses, usually they have something going on it's a great way to get before other businesses and meet them and then do some B2B.
I agree with Raquel. What we did was a pop-up shop, and that was a lot of networking there. You can find out who will be there, other vendors that are there at the pop-up shop. We sent out a list of all the vendors that had registered, so that's a great time to network with other vendors. During the event, we actually had someone talk about a contract for their product and service that they offered. So we had a business talking about a contract with another business. So find out if there's any local pop-up shops. I think it's 365 Vibe, and Natasha, correct me if I'm wrong, at 10 at the top. They have a list of opportunities where you can go, and it's free. If they're having an event, a pop-up shop, it's a good time to get your name and business and out there. Without spending anything, you can put your information up there. I think it's 365. Let me look.
I mean, another opportunity is to join your local chamber. Your local chamber has, of course, things have changed with COVID, but they do have weekly newsletters or virtual events that they do host strictly for their members, that can give you an opportunity to do some of those networking opportunities. So they could be a good aspect or a good asset for you for some B2B marketing.
And it was Upstate Vibe 365. I'm sorry, Paul. Upstate Vibe 365 for 10 at the top. You can add your events there.
Yes, and I would just say, never lose sight of those designations. DBE, a disadvantaged business enterprise. Whenever you see and you reach out to the SBA, that's automatically putting you in a network of other business owners. And I believe most city governments have a set aside program whereby a contract must allocate 15% in some cases to a minority business. So to Courtney's point, being plugged in to what Natasha said earlier, just the chamber is one starting place. The Women's Business Center at Benedict College and Greenville has one as well. So,
or join Low Country Local First in the Charleston area. Shameless pitch. Shameless.
We also have Katrina Meeks with the Spartanburg area SBDC says that they are here as well to help with webinars, free counseling services, and tools for financing your business. So there's SBD is another great resource that you can reach out to in your community as well.
Community Works just recently opened a women's business center with Tammy Hall Hawkins and her team. Actually, Tammy was our project manager here at the North Side. So, and they do a lot of funding for us for Start Me. So a great place to begin. And even though it says Women Business Center, they do not turn away men. Just thought I'd put that caveat out there, gentlemen, since it's 2 to 4. I mean, I'm just.
I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be there
You know who you ask, right?
Well, we are approaching our hour mark, so I just want to give another thank you to our moderator, John, and our amazing panelists for a really great, riveting conversation about entrepreneurship. Thank you all so much for what you do, and I hope everyone who attended is able to utilize some of the resources that we discussed here today. And just thank you all so much. I do want to remind everyone that our next summit series will be December 9th. We will be discussing new market tax credits. You can find more information on the handouts tab on the panel. And I also want to remind everyone that our final session in March, we have our keynote speaker, Marisa Baradaran, who is the author of The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap. She's been featured a lot recently in the much needed growing discussion of wealth disparities in the United States. And recently, she has been named an advisor for President-elect Joe Biden's economic transition team. So we are super excited to have her in March, and we would love for you to register. And you can get more information. It's in the handouts panel on the GoToWebinar feature. So again, thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Really great conversation. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we're here to support you. So thank you all so much.
Kelly,
Thank you for having us.
thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Happy holiday.
Same to you.
To you too.
You too.
Thank you.